Hello guys, my name's John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and welcome back to my review series on Mr. Robot. I have finished season 2, actually a while ago already. I just didn't get around to filming a video yet, but well, here are finally my thoughts on the second season. Okay, once again, spoilers everything, because, you know, the show has been out for a while now, and there's just so much to talk about that I possibly can't. I can't restrain myself here. Okay, so season 1 left me off wanting more. I want to get everything, and season 2 takes quite some interesting turns. So I already talked about how much I liked Elliott as a character, and that definitely continues into this season. Obviously, like, the big main change is that we find out that he is Mr. Robot and that he has dissociative identity disorder. And I was a bit afraid when they brought that into the mix, because I was scared that I might do the whole, oh, he's gonna talk to an imaginary person all the time, because that's kind of like a shtick that has been around for a long time, and to a certain degree they also lean into that, but I liked how they dealt with it, that it's not only a personality he sees and imagines and talks to, who is a delusion, but he also is that person. So like, he has to learn to accept that this is not just someone else, it is him, this guy is a part of him, even though he resembles his father, as we find out. So I'm glad how they managed to keep this whole dynamic between Elliott and Mr. Robot interesting. I like how they keep up their conversations. I like how they are kind of enemies, but they also have to learn to work together. But I especially like those episodes and those moments when Elliott was really fighting with himself, basically, because they needed to find out who's taking control over this body, who's doing what, when, and where, when they're trying to play the chess game in order to determine who gets to stay around and who has to leave. And it turns out they both are needed in order for Elliott to continue his life. So I like how they're kind of coming together in various different moments. Once again, I also just love how the show screws with your head and uses Elliott as an unbelievable narrator. Like, you can't believe him, you can't trust him. Like, I don't know if it was episode 7 or episode 8 when it turns out that everything we've watched, everything happened while he was in prison. And the moment they said, or the moment they showed that he is talking to his psychiatrist in prison, I was like, of course, that makes so much sense. Like, I loved how this was a twist, but one that made so much sense. Because as soon as they said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's why he suddenly has a daily routine that doesn't change. It's why he suddenly has this friend we've never seen before. That's how he maybe got into drugs again so easily, because he can get that stuff in prison. That's how he talks to those really weird people who also beat him up. So that made so much sense as soon as they said that, and I absolutely loved that twist, because it's a classic twist where, like, what? And then you're like, oh damn, yeah, it makes sense. Also, in connection to that, I like how they continue this whole Elliott narrator thing in which the audience becomes this imaginary friend he talks to, and I just like how meta it becomes. Like, when you find out that he's in prison, he's like, I'm sorry, this is the only thing I lied to you about. Everything else that has been happening did really happen, but I'm sorry I lied to you, or I don't know if I can still trust you. Where you as the viewer become involved not only into the mental illness Elliott has going on, but also into a narrative where you don't know, can I even trust the main character I'm watching? Is he really telling me what's happening for real, or is he shutting out something that I'm not meant to see? So I just love how they're playing with this whole meta fourth wall breaking thing in which Elliott is very much aware that we are watching him but can't tell him anything, and he has to decide, okay, this is my imaginary character, but can I trust him or them or her, whoever? Which means Elliott, much like we decide to watch him or maybe look away, he decides what he shows us. And I love how much they're doing with this and what kinds of different things they're doing with it, because as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of whole meta narrative, fourth wall breaking. So I love how they continue this in the second season. Yeah, so I love the continued narrative of season 2, that we see what the consequences are now that the hack has been successful, and then we see how Elliott is dealing with this, that he maybe, because that's what I'm thinking is happening, that he slowly realizes that this maybe was not the best idea, or that he didn't anticipate how big this whole thing is, since in this season he is not as much involved into this whole society thing, because Darlene is managing that now, and I'm interested in seeing what they're doing with this, because there are so many consequences that come from this that involve all of our main characters. So I'm interested in seeing where this whole hacking incident and its consequences, where this whole thing is going. Also, I like, which has to do with Elliott being an unreliable narrator, that you don't really know until the very end what is true and what isn't. Like, I was convinced until the very last moment of this season that Tyrell is dead for real. Like, that Mr. Robot has actually killed him, but didn't at first tell Elliott, but then he does, and then he keeps hearing Tyrell's voice at first on the phone, and you keep thinking, really though? And then even when he sees him in the cab, I was honestly with Elliott on this, because I was like, is the cabbie seeing this? Is this for real? Are we just imagining this? Or is Tyrell really here now? Like, until the very last moment, I thought Tyrell is either like has become another personality of Elliott, or he's just a delusion Elliott sees. Even when Tyrell shot Elliott, I was like, did he just shoot himself? When Tyrell calls Angela, is that her name? And they talk on the phone, that was the moment I realized, oh, okay, so Tyrell is actually still around, is he? But that's what I like about this show. It screws you with your head so that you're not even sure yourself anymore what's real and what isn't. Speaking of Angela and also Darlene, I have to say, because this is what I was already afraid of after finishing season 1, I'm afraid that all the other characters, like all the characters who are not Elliott, are not as interesting. And I have to admit that I noticed that. Like, I was interested in Darlene's storyline because it had to do with F Society and all that. But I must admit, I don't really care that much for Angela. And I know we're supposed to, because Elliott kind of has a crush on her, I guess. Even though that's not very well established, I thought, because they have, I don't know, I just felt like I don't really care what's going on with Angela, because I don't really find that interesting as a character, or that nice. I didn't really care about her storyline, to be honest, and they don't give Elliott and Angela that many scenes, like where they're together and where they're establishing that there might be a future relationship thing. But I honestly hope that there won't be, because romance it just doesn't fit into the show, to be honest. It kind of worked in season 1, and there they have more interactions as well, and you could kind of understand what's going on. But in this case, I just don't care about what's happening with Angela and her whole thing at E Corp or whatever is going on there. So I'm just hoping that season 3 maybe manages to get me a bit more interested in what's actually happening with her. But speaking of characters, I did like the police lady. I honestly don't remember her name, but Shapiro? I don't know. But I do like her because again, she's also kind of a very relatable character, because you realize, okay, yeah, she's very much into her job and she likes to work and she's a hard worker, but when she's at home, she's like just so lonely and so lost, and you definitely realize early on that she probably also has some mental illness going on that she just maybe doesn't want to admit to. But I like her. I think she fits into the show very well, and I like that we now have this like different side where you're like, okay, there are also those people who have to investigate F society and who might become a danger to the characters we actually care about, but you're still thinking, oh, but this policewoman is really cool. I also want her to succeed, while I also want F society and Darlene to succeed. So yeah, I did enjoy season 2, not as much as season 1, I'd say, because some of the storylines aren't as clear, I thought, as in the first season, and the whole plot twists in season 1 were a bit more shocking. But I do like what they did with season 2. There are also some really cool episodes in this. For example, one of my favorite episodes was when Elliott gets beaten up and he has a delusional dream or whatever of his life as an 80s sitcom, and I thought that when the show started, when that episode started, I was like, what the hell is going on? I have no idea what's happening, but I love it. So I like those kind of, that's what I like. I like this kind of super awkward weirdness about the show. I just don't know what is happening, but you still want to watch because you're like, this is so screwed up, I want to know why. So yeah, those are my thoughts on season 2. My review on season 3 is probably gonna come out fairly soon as well, because I'm already into it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going with Elliott, where they're going with the storylines. The show definitely manages to still be interesting, and again, Elliott and Rami Malek are just like the best thing about the show, and like they as a reason are enough to start watching this show and to continue watching it. So I'm very much looking forward to season 3. So there you go, that's my review. Have you watched all of season 2 or all of Mr. Robot already? Do tell me in the comments below what your thoughts are on season 2 or also season 1. No spoilers regarding season 3, like I said, I'm just in the process of watching it. But yeah, do tell me what you think of the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.